Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk, and the Timberwolves soap opera, the ownership soap opera, continues here, Pat. So we already, a couple days ago, Woj had reported that A-Rod and Lori, in their proposed budget for being majority owners, proposed a giant slashing of payroll. That was the big Woj report from 2 days ago. But then yesterday,
it wouldn't be slashing until next year, though, right? Because they wouldn't be soaring over the salary cap till next year, right?
it was the I think it was the 24-25 payroll,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Where they're going to have to, where they might be, tens of millions over it or something. So,
Yeah.
okay, what's happening today?
Okay, then yesterday, Shams reported.
Oh, of course, the other side.
Yep. So here, well, yeah, there's a lot of tentacles to this, but so Tim Connolly, the architect of the last 2 years, right? The Gobert trade, everything, the general manager. So he apparently negotiated 2 years ago an opt-out clause after the second season, aligning with the A-Rod Lori deadline.
Okay.
So because A-Rod and Lori are the ones that schmoozed him and hired him. He would not be here if not for A-Rod and Lori. And so he negotiated an opt-out clause after this season. Presumably, if something went sideways, like it is with A-Rod and Lori, then he could decide if he also wants to leave. So he is a free agent if he wants to be this summer.
Okay, and didn't he? There was a thought he was going to go last year, right, to Washington, because he'd been there before. So you're pretty much a free agent anyway, right? Although maybe not in the NBA. Maybe you have to stick to your contract. So
I think you need permission.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was we knew that once the Woj fired from ESPN, then the Athletic was going to have to come back from the other side. So Connolly's, Taylor's willing to pay him what he's making. Is this because he's so tied in with the other side that he would want to leave? Is that what
I don't think Connolly and Glen Taylor even have a relationship other than just seeing each other in the hallways.
I
don't think they talk strategy together.
He was at the Taylor home for dinner.
Okay.
They went to at one time. I don't know if lasagna. I don't know if Becky made lasagna or not, but he was at the Taylor home for dinner. Unless Glen's getting really old and it was somebody else. It wasn't Tim Connolly, but he was there. He talked to me about how they had him down there for dinner, and what I think, in fact, I quoted something about him in that column I wrote when this all broke loose. I think about what a nice fella he was and what a competent guy he was, because from that. He found that out when they came to Mankato I think he came to Mankato for dinner. So,
is it like the Roman Colosseum where you arrive and then you're and ultimately, somebody upstairs gives you the thumbs up, thumbs down? It's like if you get the lasagna, you're in. If you don't,
I wouldn't know. I've never been to the lasagna dinner. I don't think in Mankato it's a palatial place either. I'm not sure though.
It's big. I was once when the Garnett trade when the Garnett thing started to break, Pat, I was in Mankato for training camp, and the boss at the time requested that I try to go knock on Glen Taylor's front door, to which I was met by a gate, a big gate and a huge driveway, and said, boss, I don't think I'm going to be able to simply knock on the door and say, Glen, can I get some of Becky's lasagna? And hey, does Garnett really want to trade?
Yes, that didn't work out well.
No.
Is that the same boss who wants? No, probably not. I don't know. It's a different boss that wanted me to go knock on Mitch Lee's door in Miami. So that was a bit different. I'd rather go knock on Glen's, because there was a large barking pit bull in the front yard. So that kind of excluded me from just tiptoeing up there and banging on the door in the neighborhood. It wasn't a horrible neighborhood. It wasn't a great neighborhood, but it wasn't a horrible. But we passed on that one too.
Yeah.
I had a phone number and no one inside was answering, and I just decided. So you had it easier than me. I would say.
Oh yeah, I just saw the gate and called Crevier and said this ain't happening. There's a gate right in front of me.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, it's what we did yesterday. We talked a little about this, that the other side would have to fire here pretty soon, wouldn't it? You couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just take that. So it's Woj's got his sources, and I wouldn't say we decided it's not the Taylor camp; it's kind of the league camp. We're guessing, but and then Shams all in with the A-Rod Connolly and A-Rod Laurie group. So this will be going on for a while here, I'm sure. You know what else? You know what that out gives you if you want to leave? It also gives you a chance to get a raise from $8 million to 10 or something like that. So, man, that's a lot of money for a GM. So,
you know what, Pat? I agree with your thoughts yesterday. I don't think the players care. I don't think the players are affected one bit. But can we make one appeal? Can we drop this crap for just a few months so the fans can enjoy this? These long-suffering people who have put up with all of this crap finally have a really good basketball team. Can mommy and daddy just not fight until the season is officially done?
They can fight, maybe just not publicly.
Well, sure.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess the fans are taking sides. Yeah, Glen is definitely losing the PR battle, but do they really care? Do the fans really care? They keep showing up, and they're a lot more worried about Nas, and they get Cat back tonight. Well, supposedly that's not 100%, but
he's apparently playing. I mean, unless something goes sideways before the game, he's playing.
If he's going to play, then the playoffs, he's got to play here. I was looking up stuff on him last night for this, looking up for this occasion. It's hard to believe he's been here 9 years, isn't it?
It's crazy.
It's also hard to believe he was a complete Iron Man when he the first 3 years never missed a game.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3 years, I wrote it down here. He didn't miss a game, and Wiggins missed one.
Yeah.
Tibbs played him, man. Tibbs played him, that's for sure. And it's funny, the raving optimism that me, kind of a grump, greeted this guy with, because he seemed like such a classy, remember that first press conference on was way back in 2015, and he was smart and he was funny, and mom and dad were educators and they were there with him, and he seemed for a 19-year-old kid, he was fun loving, but he seemed mature, and now we don't. What have we had here with what's your 9-year review of Cat?
Wow. Okay. My 9-year review starts with he's the second best player in franchise history.
I was going to ask you if you felt that way, because we certainly all felt that was going to be a definite, right?
Mm-hmm. He's the second best player in franchise history. That's not like saying someone's the second best player in Lakers franchise history.
No, it's not.
It's Kevin Garnett and then a lot of other players with a wide gap. But there's just been something missing from him that doesn't align with the box scores. Like, you can look at his box scores and see 23, 25 points a game and rebounds, and he's the greatest shooting 7-footer in NBA history. But there's always been like a chip missing from either his game or from his mentality that prevents him from leading teams to the playoffs more often and now it's a great situation for him, because no one's really looking at him to save the franchise anymore. No one's looking at him to be the one that's the best player on a team that can go deep in the playoffs. He just needs to sort of fit in as the third guy behind Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert's defense.
I thought, we all thought that I think that his ego would not allow him not to be the main eventer on a team.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought earlier this year he was kind of almost accepting it, and he and Edwards seemed to be okay. So now there's got to be times when when there's 5 minutes to go and Anthony takes every shot and he doesn't get a shot, that he's he got to go home and complain to the girlfriend or something. But I don't know, with the money he's making, I guess he just but the other part of it now is he's gone from Iron Man to miss 50 games last year, and how many is this now this year? 20? 20? Did he miss more than that?
Yeah, it's around that, 15 or 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is I think talent-wise, for until Edwards came along, he certainly was the second greatest, but performance-wise, is he better than Kevin Love?
They're so similar, aren't they? I mean, a bunch of crazy box scores with very little team success to show for it. Kind of sour personalities, got a little sour after about 3 or 4 years. And they both really similar.
And they both, and one thing about Cat is he had to go through a season here too where they were tanking, trying to get, when they were just 4 years ago, they were 5 years and tanking to try to get and they ended up getting Edwards out of that, right? Edwards has been here 4 years right now, right? This is year 4. So so that 2020-21 season, they basically did everything they could to lose that year. And he's also had to survive the trade where they traded they blamed him because they were trading for his best friend. And, he's a real, his career, he's a real complicated figure in Minnesota sports history. But I found a beauty by me. You look back and you find your blunders, right? Let me see what's the date of this one? I wrote a column about how a few people have been legendary, because there's a difference between legendary and like Carl Eller is not legendary he's great, but with the Vikings, there's on my list, there's only like 4 or 5 guys who are legendary,
Sure. Yeah.
And now there's maybe another couple more, but on 3/6/2016, March 6th, 2 players that I am confident are become legendary: Cat and Miguel Sano.
Wow.
Well, you think about that group, Pat. Right. Buxton, Sano, Cat at the time. So that whole group, like the expectations at that time for what we thought have been so misguided and wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, and when you go Buxton, Sano, obviously Sano's the least of those. But when you Buxton, Sano, Cat's probably been the best, right? Of the 3?
Yes. Oh, without question. Yeah.
Because he played so much.
Yes, he did.
Relative.
He did play so much. But so I don't think the public certainly doesn't love him, but he'll get a warm reception tonight from the crowd.
Yeah, but I mean, Naz Reid gets 20 times the warm reception and love as Karl. And another thing, just going back to the first 3 years that you were talking about, where he was an Iron Man, he never missed a game. He was all NBA third team as a 21, 22-year-old. I think if you were to have stopped after the 3rd season, and I'm sure we had these conversations on the old 1500 ESPN, and said, if he's already this at age 22, 3 years in the league, what is he going to be when he's 29? I think we figured he'd be more like what Jokic is right now, which is this guy that can just dominate a game from any perspective, and he's not. So is that a failure? It's such a hard thing to dissect, because I don't think he's lived up to what we thought he was going to be 6 years ago.
I ran across a Jokic game from back then, the same period, by the way. I guess they had the game where they had to beat Denver.
Yep.
To get to the playoffs, last game of the year, Tibbs coaching, and Jokic. It was just this he was new too, right? And he was phenomenal that night. And in that playoff game, even though the Timberwolves, it's not a play-in game officially. It was the last game of the regular season, but they had to win to get in, right? The winner gets in, the loser. So it was a play-in game. And there's something in there I wrote about how Jokic was just fabulous that night. And where did this come from? But back then, did you really think Jokic was going to be a 3 times better basketball player than Cat?
No way. The hardest thing I think to tell though with guys like Cat and it's probably the hardest part about scouting. It's the wiring. It's the wiring of the player because Cat's got the talent. Look at Ant. Ant is, he might drive you crazy at times, but Ant is completely confident in Ant's ability to dominate. Yes. I've always thought Cat doesn't. My biggest thing with Cat was when he got to the playoffs for the first time, you could start to see this doubt crept in about what he could do and couldn't do. And I feel like he would go home and watch what TNT said. It just felt like the wiring was off. And that to me is the most difficult part. Because if Cat did not give a damn, I think Cat could be a Hall of Fame player, but he does give a damn, and that's part of the problem.
And that's probably more relevant or common in the NBA than any place else, because these personalities are different. Talk about wiring. When Kyrie Irving's good, he's unstoppable. Yeah. But he only does that 20 times a year because he's worried that the earth is flat and he's going to fall off it or some damn thing.
He's nuts.
He's nuts. And he doesn't play. But right now he's playing. And who wants any part of that team with those two guys? Right now he's playing. But, the other thing is we were talking about the Clippers and the Clippers problem is Kawhi. Hey, he might be the best player in the league, but if he gets bumped on the knee, he might take 12 games off too. So it's the one thing. I think Cat, when he's been hurt, has been legitimate. Obviously. Mm-hmm. So I think I don't think he's looking for excuses not to play like some of these guys. So but the wiring is what were the odds that he was going to be here 9 years?
The fear after the first 3 years is he's going to demand out because the Wolves aren't good enough for him, right. And he's going to be this top 5 player, right? And now I can't imagine because there's been all this Knicks steam the last few years, and if he were to go to a bigger market as the savior and come up short, that's why this continues to be a perfect situation for him. It's a smaller market, less criticism.
And if he goes, I always thought that with Tibbs coaching the Knicks, that was a ridiculous idea. But now Julius Randle's hurt. You don't know. I don't know what their contract situation is with him, but I bet they'd take him, and they wouldn't care about the luxury tax, So they're. How about, by the way, my guy Tibbs went to the moon to make sure Brunson. He hired his dad as an assistant coach to make sure Brunson is that guy. That guy should be in the MVP conversation.
Oh, it's crazy. Fantastic. When they signed him, it kind of felt like, ooh, that's a little bit of a desperate overpay for a good player, but he's legitimately one of the 10 or 12 best players in the league right now.
Last night he had 39 again. He would have been his 4th straight 40 game or something if he'd made one more basket. And they're they don't have Randall, so they're probably not a threat to beat anybody, but because they got him, they're in there. And
he's currently 4th in the NBA in scoring after the recent, behind Luka, Giannis, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's averaging 29 points a game.
Okay, how many minutes is he averaging?
He plays 35 minutes a game.
49.
Yeah, right. Well, I got news for him. He better take his oxygen with him to the playoffs because he isn't getting off the court. But they're, I was the Pelicans. It would be nice if the Suns could lose, so then they were locked in someplace. So when they come in here, they don't have to give you the real game on Sunday. We were talking about this yesterday. I mean, you got to beat Atlanta tonight, and you should, even though Young's back. But they got a couple other guys hurt. But you're going to have to beat the Suns Sunday. What you can't do is get away from you would like to finish third, so you play the Pelicans in the first round.
I don't know about that either, though. I think the Pelicans and the Suns are the two teams that I would rather avoid.
You're stuck with one of them now.
Well, what you'd have to hope for is if you can get the 2 seed, you would then hope that somebody beats the Suns or the Pelicans in the first playing game, like the Kings win a game or the Warriors, win the first playing game.
That ain't happening. You're going to get one of those teams or the other. I think
that might be a 7-game series.
Oh God, yes, it'll be a war. The only thing you could hope for if you play them is if you're playing the Pelicans. What are the odds of Williamson going all the way to the finish line without missing a game for some reason, and then although he's been playing a lot, and then Durant having something go wrong or something physically, you're going to have to outlast them physically by not losing your players. So but it's going to be Western Conference playoffs. They're going to be fantastic, aren't they?
Yes,
they're going to be great.
Yes, they are. Hey, by the way, we're talking about Cat's wiring. Speaking of wiring, how are those cars wired over at the?
Man. Let me look here what I got to tell you, okay? My guys at the Valley Group, Jim Paul and Brett Paul, we got stores in Apple Valley and Hastings. And right now, the Valley Group has their best inventory in years. Really, all the Buick and GMC models that you would want. New ones, they got 120 on the new ones on the grounds there in Apple Valley. Even the previously hard to find Yukons, heavy duty pickups, and Hummer EVs. I just saw a heavy duty pickup Sierra come by my house here. I wish I was a pickup guy.
I could see you rolling in a pickup guy.
I'd have to build a new garage. I'd have to build a new garage, but to make room for one of these monsters. But they got them out there, and there's many factory rebates. There's low interest financing, 0.9%, 1.9%. It is a great time to buy. Once again, the inventory is back. The supply chain is back. We're welcoming our previous customers back out there at Apple Valley and Hastings Valley Group, and anyone else that felt the treatment just didn't feel right the last time they went somewhere else. Because I can tell you this, I bought enough cars from Jim Paul and Brett Paul that it always feels right. You never feel like you're not being taken care of. So Valley Group, GMC, and Apple Valley and Hastings are valleycardealers.com. You can check out the inventory by going to valleycardealers.com. And what Jim says is this is car buying without the bad aftertaste.
Yeah. So, Amen. Anyway. All right, Pat. Well, we'll see what happens with the Wolves. We'll see if the Twins can play 3 consecutive days without a weather event.
Raining there again today.
Yeah, till like 6 tonight, and I think it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to rain till.
Get out there on the muck or something.
It's going to be a late one.
Who's going to the game tonight? Who's going to the Wolfies game?
I'll be watching from afar tonight. Okay. Watching from afar.
All right, you going to be there, Judley?
I will not. I am in Iowa. I will not be driving back for the Hawks. Can't you see?
This is a good
different
time
thing.
To
My Spock chair here.
This is a good time to go to Iowa because it's not fly season yet, so you don't have to. Be out at the farm.
It's fly season. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Coming in. Hey, I got one last question. What's with the rabbits? I've never seen so many rabbits in my life. They're all over the place.
There's rabbit poop everywhere. There's rabbits, rabbit poop.
I've seen them. I saw a big one yesterday.
I wander out like at 1 a.m. once in a while to take some out to the garbage. There's 12 of them running from all.
Let's unleash about 10,000 coyotes in the metro area and recalibrate the population of rabbits.
I think that we didn't have any frozen little bunnies this winter because it was such a nice winter. They were just doing what rabbits do all winter long. They didn't
just bouncing around, pooping on people's lawns.
Here comes PETA. Frozen bunnies. Why can't we have more frozen bunnies?
We need more frozen bunnies. All right. See you.
All right. See you, Pat.
See you, Pat.
There it is. Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk.